Okay,
What kind of bread is it?
Nut-free lunchbox bread. Hi, everybody. Before we get started, I just have to thank you all for your support and your comments. Hold on a second.
Excuse me.
Okay, yes.
Oh, I'm taking a picture of this.
That's great. It looks beautiful on yesterday's post. So thank you. Today's a new day. Put some makeup on and started a new day. It's sunny out. And yeah, so we're cooking today. We missed you guys yesterday, but as you could tell from my post, you missed them. I was at a doctor's appointment. So it is.
Mommy did that appointment.
Yeah, it is Thanksgiving week. Can you guys show them what we made today? What did we make?
We made turkeys.
We made turkeys, we made pilgrims. This weekend will be our Thanksgiving feast. If you have no idea what I'm talking about and you're like, it's April, you're crazy, you've been in quarantine too long, we decided to do something that we're calling Corona Days, where every week we have a new holiday that we celebrate all of our crafts and books and movies, hold on, and recipes, no, hold on a minute, have to do with that holiday. And so this weekend we'll be doing a Thanksgiving feast, so all of my recipes that I'm doing live this week are kind of just building up to that. So this recipe for this bread is our very favorite bread. It is actually so simple. I was measuring out all the ingredients and realizing like it's actually pretty minimal ingredients and very easy to make. But I use it,
I'll use this.
Hold on, I use it in my apple sage sausage stuffing from my Celebrations cookbook. My blender bread that you can find on my blog, equally as easy, but does include nuts. This one's nut-free. You can use that as well in that stuffing. Really any gluten-free or grain-free bread that you want, you can use. All right, so let's get started.
Let's get started.
Yes, let's get started. If you have a copy of the book on page 48, yes. And I will walk you through it as we go. You need to get off the counter. Okay, so first things first, I have 3/4 cup of full fat coconut milk. That just means not low fat, not just the cream, but a regular old can of coconut milk. And you do want to have it heated. I heated it on the stovetop until it's about 110 degrees. So not everybody has a thermometer, but the rule of thumb for this is, and the biggest reason why, hold on. Taking the temperature. The thing is we're activating yeast. This bread does have yeast in it. And so your milk needs to be warm to be able to activate the yeast, but it can't be too hot or it'll kill.
My milk.
Yeah, you can pour it into my bowl. It'll kill the yeast. Why don't you pour it right into here?
Then can I
If you don't have a thermometer, what I always tell people, yes, you can mix it, sweetheart. What I always tell people is that a rule of thumb for something like this is you can kind of do like the baby bottle test. So if you take a bit and put it on a sensitive part of your wrist or like the inside of your thumb, and it just feels warm to the touch, but it doesn't sting or burn you, then you should be good. That's kind of my rule of thumb if my thermometer's not working. Okay, so dry active yeast, something that I don't often use in my recipes, but the pizza crust in here, the bagels, and the bread all use it because I had created dozens and dozens of bread and pizzas, crust recipes over the years, and the biggest thing, the biggest thing that was missing was that yeasty flavor. So certified gluten-free, okay, go ahead and shake it in, and then Kezia, you can give it a little mix, and one more, go ahead. Good job. So normally when I make this, by the way, I double it up. It freezes really well. I just figure if you're going to be dirtying up dishes, you may as well make 2 loaves, especially because we go through it pretty quickly. But we're just using it for stuffing and I only need 1 loaf. So today I'm just going to do 1 batch. So this is our freshly golden flaxseed, freshly ground golden flaxseed, I meant to say. I think that grinding it fresh is actually it makes a big difference. I have bought the ground flaxseed from the grocery store and it just is a lot more coarse.
Yeah, no.
Okay, no, don't push, remember, you just scrape it off. Yeah, I taught you that last week, didn't I? Okay, now that's too much, honey. So you had to, if you push down, no, okay, how Mama's gonna do it. Look, if you go straight across, then you get a level cup, and that's what you want. Because if you push, then we're packing it in, and you're going too low, below the line of what we need. Okay, what I was saying. I freshly grind golden flax seeds. I have a clean coffee grinder that I use, and I just keep a jar like this in my refrigerator of freshly ground so I can make the bagels and everything when I need to. Yeah, like just like that. Let's not touch that. But I do find it makes a difference because when you grind it yourself, it's just more finely ground. Go ahead, mix it. If you buy the pre-ground flax at your store, that's totally fine, but it's just gonna measure a bit differently. So if you want, throw it in a food processor, grind it even more fine, or a coffee grinder. And then people ask a lot if you can use regular brown flax seeds. Totally, you can. It's more of an aesthetic thing here. This looks like a regular loaf of bread. When you use the darker flax seeds, you're gonna get kind of specks throughout, which just makes it look like a whole grain loaf of bread. And it just depends how your kids are. If they're not picky, you're probably fine. Okay, so let's stop mixing it, and Daddy can ask some questions. Yes.
Healthy Unicorns is wondering how much flaxseed again?
Oh, a 1/4 cup of finely ground. Okay, so if you're not used to working with yeast, what you're wanting to see are some just little air bubbles on the top. It's not going to be anything like substantial. It's not gonna be like crazy foamy, but as long as you see some little bubbles kind of breaking apart at the top, then you should be good. If you're not seeing those, then there's two things. Hold on, actually we don't wanna mix it anymore. We actually wanna stop mixing it. There's two things that could go wrong. Hold on, you're gonna get to dump my flowers in, but just a second, okay? Your yeast could be expired, or B, your milk was too hot or too cold. So those are kind of the biggest problems that people have. All right, so Kezia, I'm gonna have you dump this in. Easton, I'm going to have you dump in our apple cider vinegar, except for I don't have, we'll just do this because it's 1.5 teaspoons. No, honey, you just dump it all in. Don't use the spoon. Nope, Just dump all the egg yolks in, and Easton, you dump that in. So our apple cider vinegar is also kind of acting as a leavener in this. It's going to react with the baking soda that we'll add with our flours, and that's going to help to create those air bubbles and the rise along with the vinegar. Along with the yeast, excuse me. If you cannot tolerate gluten-free, dry active yeast, I do have a full substitution chart at the beginning of this book. Actually, there's substitutes for pretty much everything in this bread. So if there's something that doesn't work for you, take a look. It's the first time I've ever included something like this in a book because it can be so different depending on recipes, but I spent a lot of time testing and figuring out what subs would work for you guys with allergies. So take a look at that. Okay, now not yet, hold on. Now we're going to actually do all of our flours. So I measured these out in advance, but it's to keep this nut free, we use coconut flour, which is a drupe, not a tree nut, arrowroot, and then I've got some baking soda, go ahead, baking soda and salt in here. Thank you. Yeah, let me start mixing it and then you can finish.
Wait, what?
Arrowroot makes a big mess. Hold on.
Wait, I want to mix it.
Okay, go ahead. You mix for a little bit and then I'll have your brother mix for a little bit. Okay? Yes.
He's asking what's the difference between this and the blender bread.
Ooh. Yeah, so the blender bread uses cashews, coconut flour, and no yeast. Don't touch. Yes, you can do it too. Hold on. We don't want to lose any of our arrowroot, okay? It's actually kind of important. Okay, keep going.
I want to do this.
I'm trying to remember when I put my olive oil in.
Mix this, Mom.
No, we don't need to mix that, but I'm gonna have you dump that in a second, okay? Oh, there, right there. Here we go. Kezia, can you dump this in?
No, I want this.
Okay, hold on, you guys. Okay, Kezia, dump this in.
Oh,
Dump it all in. Don't drop the bowl in. Good girl. Okay.
how can I make it?
Okay, you guys are both gonna get to take turns mixing it. Okay, so at this step, once we actually get this mixed together, it's a little difficult to mix. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine because you're going to add in your egg yolks later. It's a little hard, isn't it? Because there's not a lot of liquid in there yet. So this is the stage that we're just going to cover this bowl with a clean towel, and we're going to just leave it on the counter for an hour. When we come back, I'm gonna come back live to you. When we come back, what I'm gonna do is take our egg whites that we separated and beat them with this cream of tartar. And that's also going to help this loaf rise and not be super dense like a lot of grain-free and gluten-free breads are. Hold on, sweetie. So once we come back, I'll beat those and then we'll slowly fold the egg whites into this mixture. And then we put it in a loaf pan and bake it. And that is it. So we'll come back and show you that. I wanted to do this in parts so you could actually see everything, but I'm just gonna finish getting this all in there. This is pretty sticky, but if you want to get your hands in there, that's totally fine. Just as long as you get all of that arrowroot from the sides and the bottom, you should be good. But this is the consistency, just so you can see that you're kind of looking for before you let the loaf, or before you let the batter rise. Just one more thing. You were not going to get, you are not going to get a big puffy loaf of bread, or I guess the dough or the batter like you would when you proof a normal loaf with yeast, but it does rise up. I mean, you'll see it, it'll probably puff up by like, not double in volume, but pretty close. So what?
Are we making Play-Doh?
No, we're not making Play-Doh, honey. Okay, so that's where this is where we pause.
Yeah.
So we'll be back in an hour after this has had time to rise. Okay, see you guys.
No.
Yes.
Why are you not doing this?
Just cover that up and we'll just leave it right there.
Why are you not doing this?
We'll do that next after this has some time to sit. Thanks for your help, you guys.
Hi, video.
Hi, video. Can you say welcome back to part 2 of our nut-free, grain-free sandwich bread making. It's from my Eat What You Love book. I've got my handy dandy little bookmark. You can pull your stool over, buddy, if you want. It's right over here. Come on over. Okay, so we were just live about an hour ago. If you missed it, you can go back and watch it. But we made the first part of our dough. It's been resting for an hour. Now what we need to do is take our, calm down, I'll help you guys. It's getting to be lunchtime and nap time. We're on our, probably on our last little bit of calm here, and then we're gonna lose it. So let's get this finished. How about? Okay, so I have my egg whites, and then I have cream of tartar. It's just gonna help get these really nice and fluffy. Plus it'll react with our baking soda once everything bakes in the oven. So we're just going to turn this on and beat them until we have soft peaks.
Why we do that one?
I'll show you, just a sec.
Mommy,
My love.
popsicle.
Popsicles! Okay, meanwhile, I have my loaf pan. Make sure that you follow the instructions in terms of the size. It really does matter, and it helps your loaf rise a lot more. This is a bit more narrow than a standard loaf pan. So you can find it on my shop page, againstallgrain.com/shop. But I also list the size, the dimensions in the recipe. I've got parchment paper that's cut and pushed down onto the bottom. That'll just help our loaf lift out when it's done. Let's crank this up. Yep. Those are not popsicles, those are corn dogs. Hold on, you want to show everybody? So yummy. We might need to make some of those and put them in the freezer soon. While this is beating, I have to show you guys. We just made my Brazilian cheese bread pizza crust for a pizza night tonight. We filmed it for you, so be on the lookout for that maybe in a couple weeks. But they smell so good and they taste delicious, and everybody is very excited for pizza night. Okay, let's see if we're ready. Yeah, you can touch it. It's not gonna hurt you.
Can I touch that?
No, let's not touch this because it's raw eggs. Okay, so what you want is just to be able to pull the beater out and have a soft peak form, and for it to kind of stick onto the beater a bit. You don't want stiff peaks. You just kind of want it right when it's holding its shape and nice and foamy. And it's all those air bubbles that are gonna help our bread rise really nicely. All right, so what we need to do now is just to slowly incorporate and fold our whites in. So I'm gonna start, and you guys can help me after. Okay, let's put that back in. What I like to do is to add a bit of the egg whites and just really fold them in, and you can let them deflate. It'll just help, it'll help loosen up your dough a bit and make the rest of them easier to fold in. And so for this first, guys, stop putting your fingers in there, okay? For this first part, you really don't need to be gentle and careful about the egg whites. Just go ahead and get them in there. It'll just make that dough a little bit looser. It'll make the folding process for the rest of it quite a bit easier. Also, just make sure that that first half of our dough making, it's pretty sticky. So with a rubber spatula, just make sure you're getting everything from the bottom and the sides of the bowl. You just don't want to have big clumps.
What are we making
in there, and you also don't want to waste any of it.
What are we making?
We're making our bread, honey.
Not again.
This is what you guys like to eat toast with in the morning with
Not again.
butter. Daddy and Mama like to make almond butter and jam sandwiches with this, but for this loaf, we are saving it and it's going towards our stuffing. So what I like to do for my stuffing is to cut, okay, thank you, you're doing a really good job counting, but would you mind stopping so I can talk for a second, okay? I like to slice my loaf and then cut it into, hold on, sweetie, hold on. I like to cut it into my cubes, let them sit out on a baking sheet and dry out. And I actually leave them out for a couple days because I think stale bread really helps make the texture. Nope, don't touch, please. She didn't touch that. She touched the other one. We don't want to touch the raw egg whites, okay? So it needs to bake. It just helps the texture of the stuffing. It helps for them not to get soggy. It helps it to absorb some of the liquid.
Touch the white one too.
Okay, I'm gonna just fold these in and then you guys can help me put it into our loaf pan. Yes, Kez, did you have a question, honey? You what? You see your name? So just fold gently with your spatula. This process takes a couple minutes and your arm will be slightly sore by the end. What? You see it? Do you see a K? So essentially you just kind of keep turning that batter over and over until the whites get incorporated. And you try not to deflate them. They are going to deflate a bit, but you want some of those air bubbles still in there. Okay, my shoulder's starting to get tired. You could probably use your dough hook and do it in your mixer too if you want. You just might need to give it a bit of help with the spatula as well, but it should work. Just don't do the whisk or the beater attachment or you'll deflate your whites too much. All right, we're close. It's amazing what muscles you work when you're cooking versus when you actually are working out or lifting weights. They feel very different. Okay, so we're good. You just don't want to have a lot of white streaks. You also don't want to have any big chunks of that initial batter with the egg yolks just because it's very thick. Okay, and we're just going to pour. Yes, honey. Pour all this in. This bowl. I used a big bowl so that I wouldn't spill with the kids, but now it's a little hard to hold it. Might need to have Dada come in and help, huh, Easton? Yes. Okay. Ryan has been like the silent cameraman behind all of these videos. Yes, sweetheart.
My name.
Your name? You see a K? Speaking of silent cameraman, Daddy, do you have any questions for us while I finish getting all this batter into my loaf pan?
Yeah, we actually have some from the previous live.
Great.
Amy asked previously what was the best spot to find.
Oh, so the certified gluten-free one that I like is Bob's Red Mill, and I get it on Amazon or at Whole Foods.
I want to help.
You know what? We're done. I got it all. Woo! Okay. Any other questions? I'm going to throw this in my oven. It's been preheating at 350 degrees, by the way.
We actually have another question.
Okay.
She's allergic to eggs and yeast, but she wants to give your blender bread a try. You can use eggs with
So I've never tried it for the blender bread. That blender bread I think takes 8 eggs. So I would caution to do it at your own risk just because I would hate for it to fail on you. I will just tell you for sure if you do with aquafaba, it's going to be a lot more dense. But I think aquafaba would be your best bet if you aquafaba if you want to try to substitute it.
Always want to cook with you?
Mom, Mommy,
Always. I'm not like the few times, hold on. The few times I've been alone in these videos, it's because they've been preoccupied with like a show or something. They see the camera come out or they see the mixer come out and they are attached at the hip. My love, you're right in the microphone. It's gonna be super loud. Yes, they love to cook. Do you guys like to cook with me?
Yeah.
Yes, and to be honest with you, I've never really had them make dinner reservations. Hold on, let me talk and then you can talk, okay?
Excuse you.
Excuse you. What?
Oh, my name.
Oh yes, your K on my necklace, that's right. I never had really had them do dinner recipes with me because 5 o'clock is always stressful and I just want to get dinner made. They baked a lot with me before, but during this whole quarantine and our daily, weekly, or weekday Wake Up with the Walker show, we've made quite a few dinner recipes and they have been so much more open to trying them at dinner time. They're very proud that they contributed to making dinner, which I love. The chili, the beef with broccoli, the French dips. I mean, they've made a lot of stuff with me that some of those are their favorites, but a few of those they've never tried before. The chili was one of them, and the cornbread. But because they made it with me, they were so proud of it, and they loved it, and they wanted to taste it, and they wanted to share it. And it's, so yeah, they love cooking with me, and I've found that it's been really great for all of us during this time. Any other things you guys want to talk about, or any questions we want to answer before we sign off? What we made? Yeah, we made crafts this morning. Anything else?
A lot of people talked about your health, just making sure you're feeling better.
Oh,
How you feeling?
thanks, guys. I'm actually feeling well. We've talked about it a couple times for our lives. I'm not 100% yet, but I'm night and day from where I was. Yesterday was more of an emotional day than anything more than like a physical feeling day. So I appreciate all of your comments and your notes and your DMs and everything and your concern. So thank you. We'll cover more of that when Ryan and I do our own live again, because it's a little crazy right now. So enjoy the bread. We'll be making stuffing. I'll show you probably in my stories at the end of the week as I make that. And like I mentioned, my Brazilian cheese bread pizza crust type recipe video is going to come. The recipe's already on the blog, but I wanted to give you guys a tutorial. So we'll be seeing you later. Bye. Can you guys say bye? No?
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.